Welcome to the first edition of Credit Reddit, and if you're unfamiliar, of course you are, it's new, I'm going to be scouring Reddit to find the most unique and interesting stories about credit cards, and I'll be giving my 2 cents and some advice on all the things that I've learned in the credit card world, the 14 credit cards and 2 wallets in the last few years. So without further ado, let's get into the first story, which I actually titled Authorized User Hell. So the title of this Reddit post is called, "I'm in a panic because my boyfriend added me to his card as an authorized user. Can you help me determine if they will report to my credit?" I guess just right off the bat, before we read anything further, yes, if you are an authorized user on somebody's credit, your credit profile essentially will be intertwined with that credit card, and thus will show up on your credit report as its own credit card. But something tells me that that's not the whole story. Short background, I've been working on improving my credit for several years. I've been stable at a mid 700 score for a while now, and I'm super protective and thoughtful about my credit. Been with my boyfriend for 8 years. Wow. We share a home, but keep finances separate. Though we work as a team, but as far as cards, he's more prone to spend and rack up debt, though his score is great, and has a balance on multiple cards. I don't know if I like this guy. Whereas she is more likely to save and pay off her 3 cards every single month. He told me today that he added me as an authorized user on one of his cards. I freaked out a little. I have zero need to use this card and wouldn't want to charge something on a card that I'm not paying. I don't even know why he did this. He got mad when I asked questions and expressed my own concerns about the credit score and not having a need for the card. He won't tell me what the limit is or what the balance is and whatever he's carrying on the card. I know the age of the card won't help my average age. I even offered to just pay the card off if I'm on it and we could just start at 0 and not carry a balance. But he was pissy about that too and declined and assured me it won't affect my credit score. The only thing he said was that he didn't have to enter her social security number, so he said it won't report to her credit score. And the main question is, do you think this will report to my credit because she really wants to save her credit score? I get it, especially if somebody is just putting me on their authorized user account without my even asking, especially if we've been dating for 8 years and we don't have this kind of talk about finances and we keep them separate. I'm already seeing red flags. Sorry. Just being honest. So actually, the first comment responding to this is the correct one. It will definitely show up on your credit as an authorized user. If he has a balance on that account, that balance will now show on your report regardless of what card that has that balance. So essentially, if I'm a person that has 0 credit card debt and all of a sudden my boyfriend or my girlfriend decides to put me on as an authorized user and they have maybe $5,000 worth of credit card debt, that now is going to reflect on me as we kind of have this joint card, and now they're going to have total $5,000 debt between both of us. But for me personally, maybe I only have 2 credit cards and maybe my total credit limit is only $10,000. Now having a $5,000 balance show up on my credit report is putting my utilization at 50%, which could easily drop your score a bunch of points very quickly. Now the first thing to keep in mind, which is actually the least important of your worries, is actually when he decides, if he decides to actually remove you as an authorized user on this account, those balances will actually go away, which means nothing's really going to happen to your credit score. As quickly as it put on your account, it's going to be taken away and the credit bureaus are not going to hold that against you. It just depends how long you've actually been on as an authorized user, but still, the next period that they actually report to your credit, it's going to be fixed. So I wouldn't worry on that front necessarily. But the bigger concern is your boyfriend, being crazy. Now the second thing is, one of the reasons I think he actually did it might have been because maybe he has a card like the Amex Gold. Some of these credit cards actually give you a bonus if you add an authorized user, and if that authorized user spends, a certain amount of money within a certain period of time, you'll get like an extra little sign-up bonus, which is a little bit extra value. So this might not have been malicious. He might have just done this thinking like, hey, it doesn't affect her, but at least I can get some benefit from it, so why not, right? Not making excuses, because he definitely should have told you that he was doing this, but I think that might be the reasoning, is he was going to be getting a bonus from that card by adding you. Either that or he was just trying to spend the money on your card and let you deal with it, but I don't think that's the case. And the third thing is, relationship-wise, you should be having these conversations. 8 years is a long time to be spending with somebody that you're forced to actually go on Reddit because they're being irrational to ask questions to the internet instead of just talking about it civilly with your partner. And I'm actually seeing some comments here stating like, oh, he won't listen to me, or, what else could I do if he doesn't listen and doesn't understand? This guy actually goes to the extreme and says, my concern is that he might next move on to fraudulently opening and using new credit or loans in her name without her consent or even knowledge. You simply don't add someone to a loan account, including a credit card, without getting their express, unambiguous consent in advance. Someone who's willing to cross that line may very well be willing to cross additional financial lines going forward. It's very true. It's very, very true. We don't want to think this of our partners, but it's very possible. And sometimes it's crazy. You don't actually know who you lay your head next to at night every single day. Not from experience, but I'm just saying. You know, people are crazy. And she actually responds to this saying, oof, of course, I want to defend him and say he'd never do that, but this is a very scary reality I need to accept as at least a possibility. Ooh, man, you're actually thinking about this? You're thinking he could possibly be doing this to you? Ooh, I wouldn't be with that boy. I wouldn't be with that boy. I'd be switching that around. I'd be going somewhere else. Somebody else who's got their own credit card. You know, put their mother on an authorized user. Don't put me on there. Oh man, so I would just be careful about that. Okay, so that was a pretty interesting story, but let's get into the second one, which something I wasn't actually aware that people have done, and I didn't even think about because I've never done it before, what this actually would look like. The title of this one is called Capital One Transfer Balance to Amex Gone Wrong. You know, like those YouTube videos Gone Wild or Gone Sexual. Am I allowed to say that? He says, hi, I don't know if I posted in the right subreddit, but I'm panicking and need help. So basically I have around 1K balance in my Capital One card and I wanted to transfer the balance to another card. Through the Capital One app, I transferred around $600 to American Express. So he's looking to do a balance transfer. He probably got a new American Express credit card that had a 0% APR, which means he can transfer that $1,000 to American Express and he's not going to be incurring any interest on that balance for the foreseeable future whenever the promotional ends. This way he can just make the minimum payments and it doesn't get any bigger than that. $1,000 at the end of the year will still be $1,000. Did this around March 10th and it was posted on my account March 13th. Today is March 14th. Now here's where I got effed up. I looked at my Capital One balance and instead of making my balance around $400, it increased my total balance by $600, not decreased it as I wanted. I also checked my Amex and it didn't do anything to it. I wanted to transfer the balance to American Express since I have a no intro rate for balance transfer. So like I said, I'm annoyed and pissed that I just gave myself $600 in debt. I just checked the Capital One balance transfer and it did not say that it will transfer the money to my Capital One account. Is there anything that I can do at this point? And again, the first comment, people are great on here. They know everything. First comment is, that's not how balance transfers work. Right. Exactly. You would do them from receiving end, not the one you're trying to transfer off of. That's right. A lot of the times I've heard this, it's called make sure you're pulling, not pushing. So you're pulling balance transfers. So if you have the new Amex card, you're going to go on AmericanExpress.com and you're going to pull the debt from Capital One, not push the Capital One debt to American Express, if that makes sense. What you did is have Capital One just pay American Express. You would have been charged whatever the balance transfer is, but American Express will either go negative $600 and you'd be able to request that money sent to you, or they will eject the payment from Capital One and you'll have to talk to Capital One themselves. Yeah, so essentially what's going to happen is either it's just not going to go through that transfer and it's just going to be rejected and put back into his Capital One account, or American Express, the balance is going to show negative $600 since he was at zero. Most likely he could just have it reverse if he sends a letter or if he calls up Capital One. And unfortunately, most of these credit cards, especially like Capital One or American Express, they're charging like up to 3% on balance transfer fees. So if he really did push, you know, or I guess pulled $600, you know, into his Amex, he's probably paying 3% on that. So he's probably taking a hit of about $18. Not too bad, just for a learning experience, I guess. This guy actually made a good point. He says, I'll add that you should make sure you understand the rest of how balance transfers work before you do another one. Balance transfer almost always has a flat percentage fee plus an increased APR, like we said, 3%. Why are you trying to transfer only part of your debt to Amex? And he says, my mistake, yes, American Express gave me a 0% APR balance transfer promo, not a purchase promo. Oh, so the plot thickens. So he actually doesn't have a purchase APR, which means he will incur interest, but the reason he did it is because he says, I wanted to transfer some of the balance as I couldn't pay it all this month, and he tried to avoid incurring interest fees. So he was thinking in his mind, okay, it's nearing the end of the month, I'm about to pay interest on the balance that I didn't pay on my Capital One card. Let me actually push this balance over to American Express so this way I can restart a new month, and this way another month will go by and I won't incur any interest on it. So man, you're kind of playing with fire there. I mean, I get it, that's a smart thing to do, but also just make sure you're able to pay that bill off. You know, you don't want to have to play this game of just constantly balance transferring and hitting 3% fees. But I get it. I mean, you're only taking a hit of 3% as opposed to the 20% interest, but you're going to eventually run out of runway. Run out of enough credit cards to actually keep transferring that debt to. So interesting, you know, interesting situation that we can all possibly learn from. Anybody in the comments, any of that actually happened to you? You know, let me know in the comments below. It'd be interesting. Pretty crazy. And if you want to see a video talking about how a girlfriend really hates the boyfriend's finances, be sure to check out this video in the corner. I'm sure you'll get some laughs and you'll probably learn something too.